Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kate Ertman. I'm the president of the Rotary Club of Portland. Welcome to our online video weekly membership meeting. This week, I'd like to share a few updates from our Rotary District 5100 leadership. First off, Rotary International is now planning to provide a virtual convention experience in light of the annual international convention being canceled this year. Work is being done with keynote speakers to deliver the plenary sessions as well as have some breakout sessions. So more details I will share with you when we have that information. Also, Rotary International has set aside $3 million towards additional grants to be used by districts as COVID-19 disaster funds. Our district was informed last week that they'll receive a $25,000 disaster response grant. These funds can be used to support local activities like purchasing thermometers, protective medical gear, or other items to donate to medical professionals who need them. So, as districts prepare to submit new district grant applications for the 2020-2021 Rotary year, and that begins on July 1st, we are being encouraged to designate funds for COVID-19 responses. And, as a one-time exception, the foundation will allow expenses related to COVID-19 that were incurred since March 15th of this year to be reimbursed through 2020-2021 district grants. Clear? Not very, but contact the office or you can just contact me and I can fill you in on the details around that. Now, please welcome past president and past district governor, Rotarian Danielle Banks, to give this week's reflection.
Thank you, President Kate. What do Nobel Peace Laureate, Peace Prize recipient, actually, Desmond Tutu, ice hockey goaltender Maxime Lagacé, and guitarist Jimi Hendrickson have in common? Jimi Hendrix. I'm going to say that again. What do Nobel Peace Prize recipient Desmond Tutu, ice hockey goaltender Maxime Lagacé, and guitarist Jimi Hendrix have in common? Do you know? Well, the answer is they all have hearts for peace. From Desmond Tutu, I quote, "Do your little bit of good where you are. It's those little bits of good put together that overwhelm the world. Because if you want peace, you don't just talk to your friends, you talk to your enemies too." From Maxime Lagacé, "Little people are intolerant, selfish, and impatient. Wise people are calm, loving, and understanding." And from Jimi Hendrix, who shared these words of wisdom, "When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace." So as Rotarians, we ask ourselves, how do we keep peace in our community and bring peace to the world? The answer: we join other leaders to exchange ideas and then take action. And why? Because as an old African proverb says, peace may be costly, but it's worth the expense. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Danielle. How very appropriate that you are talking about peace, especially since this is the month of May, is the month for our Peacebuilders committee to be the featured committee of the month, but you'll hear more about that later. So thank you again, Danielle. Now I'd like to welcome any virtual guests. Thank you for tuning into our weekly membership meeting. And I would also like to extend a happy anniversary to everyone who became a Rotarian in this month of May. You can find out more about who has those anniversaries this month by going to our website, or you will also see the list of the May anniversaries in the email where you received this very video link. Now, please welcome Rotarians Dan Bramsky and Drew Henry McWilliams to give an update on the Rotary Youth Center, also known as Project 2020.
Good afternoon. Thank you, President Kate. This is Dan Bramsky here, and good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. We just wanted to take a moment to update you all on the progress of the Rotary Youth Center, also known as Project 2020. In a few minutes here, we should have perfect. So construction began in February after a small private ceremonial groundbreaking on Valentine's Day. Here you can see the footprint of the building beginning to take form with the clearing of the site and the laying of the concrete floor slab and foundations. We did have to remove some trees in order to build this building, but we are going to save that wood and make use of it in the landscape benches on site. After the slab was poured, all of the walls were framed on the slab, and then they were put up into place. You'll see here in the upper right corner that a couple of employees at Joseph Hughes Construction are doing a good job of maintaining their safe distances and having protection equipment. We are happy to report that so far the project is still on schedule, even though the additional restrictions are being placed on construction. And here's some more recent photos. You can see the building is really starting to take shape. As of last week, the roof framing was going up, and now if you do happen to be in the neighborhood at about 110th and Sandy in the Parkrose neighborhood, you can drive by and see the building and what a beautiful space it's going to be. At this point, we are still expecting a completion schedule of later this summer. And as you can see with these photos, we've actually had one of our fellow Rotarians on site helping out with construction a little bit. That is Drew Henry McWilliams, and I will hand it off to him as Drew is actually on site today.
Hello, everyone. And even though we're taping this on Monday, happy Tuesday. So I have the pleasure of being out and getting some vitamin D and sun here on site at Sandy, and I've got in the background, you can see the building. We've got construction workers here. I have my helmet and mask for potentially doing a little tour myself a little later. I keep getting updates a couple times a week, but I want to just express tremendous gratitude for all the fundraising that Rotary did, and the 3 years that we've all been doing this fundraising was just in time before having this project begin. So I can tell you that the kids in our program here on site at the location where I and other kids have their space, they are really excited that even in the midst of this virus, that the very thing that we said we were going to do is happening. So thank you so much, everyone, for all that you've done, talking it up, for donating, for getting others to donate, and for being a part of this dream. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I think instead of walking over there and making you dizzy with this, I'm just going to let you keep seeing the building in the background and tell you just a couple of things. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. It's also Foster Care Awareness and Appreciation Month. And we have all of those services here. So I want to give one just helpful thing about the stigma of mental health. It is still an issue in our country, in our world, that if someone needs mental health services, there's something defective or wrong. And I want to just take a moment to underline that at any given time, any one of us needs help with our mental health, which it isn't just our mind, it's our emotions, it's how we experience or treat one another with our behaviors. It's what guides us from a philosophy or a spiritual or religious aspect, whatever brings meaning to someone. Any one of those aspects of our life, our relationships, our livelihood, can get out of balance. And we have found that families have needed us even more so as people have had their livelihood taken away or some of their freedoms taken away, and or having family members die from this illness. So please do your part to help encourage people that it's always okay to need some help sometime. And one of my phrases has been, get to us before stress gets to you, whatever the cause of that stress may be. So with that, foster care, I always want to put a plug in for that. Our foster parents are heroes along with our staff in that they have kept working with kids and they have adopted all of the ways of being safe and smart around keeping one's health in a good place for the kids, for themselves, and having their own little bubble, but also having our staff be a part of that bubble in helping them with their treatment services. I'm particularly proud of our staff who are doing mental health services remotely, with phones, with video conferencing, whatever is possible for a family. I'm also very, very pleased of our staff who continue to come to work to take care of the kids that are in our care, whether they're in one of our foster homes, one of our shelters, or one of our residential treatment programs. We are one of those essential services that has kept functioning throughout this period of states of emergency. So with that, I'm also proud to be a part of some of the other committees that maybe Dan, you could just mention one of the committees you're a part of. And so back to you for a moment.
Thank you, Drew. Yes, I am a member of the Homeless Solutions Committee, and recently we have begun to partner with Morrison, and we are excited to announce that we will be providing backpacks and some school supplies for children of different ages, all the way from preschool through middle and high school aged kids. And we will be providing this later this year. More details to come, but we're excited at kind of these connections we've made with Morrison in other ways, and we're continuing to build our relationship with Morrison and the community.
Thank you so much, Dan. Partnerships is really key in usual times. It is especially essential for us when folks are scared, folks are hurting, and folks are needing community more than ever. And when people get things like the backpacks, it helps underline and remind folks they're not alone and people are thinking of them. So thank you so much. I'm also within our Rotary Club. I'm part of the Peacebuilders Committee, and I'm pleased that Daniil, you're going to give a little update for our Peacebuilder Committee. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks, Drew and Dan, for those updates. I thought what I would do, our chair was unable to join us today, and I appreciate always having the opportunity to speak on behalf of committees that I feel especially engaged with when I choose to provide service through the Rotary Club of Portland. The Peacebuilders Committee mission has changed a couple times over the years, and we will review it again probably this next year. But I want to read our current mission so that you have a sense of really what in general the committee is about, both locally and globally. The Peacebuilders Committee of the Rotary Club of Portland wages peace locally and globally. And we empower communities to resolve conflicts through nonviolence, mutual respect, understanding, and cooperation. And I can truly say that the Rotarians who are highly engaged on this committee are doing just that. For example, and you'll hear a little bit about it more towards the end of the month, is some of our really hands-on weekly impactful work that we do through the Community Peace Collaborative with the City of Portland, the Portland Police Bureau, and a whole host of other organizations that have decided that no conflict and peace in our community really matters. And an offshoot of that group that 5 of us participate in is called IPAC, the Interfaith Peace Action Collaborative. The Black churches chose 3 or so years ago, maybe it's 4 now, to do more. So they meet every other Friday morning with officers and leaders of the Portland Police Bureau, community leaders, and leaders of all faiths, and those who have chosen that faith is expressed in a non-religious way. It is amazing what that group and those 2 groups are doing. And again, you will hear more about listening sessions and what we're doing with Parks and Rec and so on towards the end of the month. But let me give you a little breakdown. This is from Shelley Kane Stockman, our chair. And she kindly provided a list, thankfully, because I may not have remembered all the projects. But we've helped Lincoln High School students go to an international peace building event. We helped host the Martha Cohen event, 100-plus-year-old woman who spoke to us about her days in remembrance of the Holocaust. A phenomenal conversation that she had with a large community of Rotarians and others from all around Portland. We have planted Peace Bowls all around the district and all around the Portland metro area. One is at Morrison Center. That may have been our first. 7 are at a elementary school, actually, in Beaverton, because they have kids that among their kids' population, there are 36 different languages spoken. So they wanted to represent May Peace Prevail on Earth, which is what the Peace Bowl says, and the Rotary logo or emblem. They wanted to represent each of those different languages so that all kids within the neighborhood and within their school could feel a part of their desire to keep conflict at a minimum and work together peacefully in a community. We almost every year work with the East Portland Rotary Club and work on educational programs, billboards, bus signs, etc., around the really hard issue to tackle of human trafficking. And we're really proud of the work that we've been able to collaborate there. We've done multiple projects with the Portland Children's Museum or the Oregon Children's Museum. The Children's Museum is a space that is dear to all of us. We helped with the original funding. We have their senior leader as our incoming president in July. And we have continued to sponsor events with them like Peace and Friendship Month. And continue to look to them as a source for bringing kids up peacefully in our local community, in our world. We've also contributed recently to a project that is bringing community leaders together actually all around the state. It's called the Common Table. And the idea there is that we may not know what someone else in our community is thinking about what's important to them and what we could do collaboratively. So the Common Table is a way to find new ideas for how we build, again, collaborations, partnerships, but most importantly, understanding among people who may have difference of thought. Internationally, we put some money into what's called the Mekong Rios to River project, thanks to a Rotary Peace Scholar at the time, Andy Stone, and we are currently in the process of helping fund, with Andy's help, fund a project in Kenya. When the Rotary Peace Scholars at Chulalongkorn University in Bangkok had to leave their certificate program just a couple of weeks earlier, a few of those 49 scholars this year had trouble getting home because their country wasn't letting anyone in. Andy was able to get home and help build a consortium to help others from around the world, other scholars. And one of the scholars did get home to Kenya. His name's Solomon. He was asked to isolate himself, a shelter in place in a hotel, and he had no money. The government finally put everyone in quarantine, like Solomon, really a holding pen. And yet, while he was there as a peace fellow, he already had an NGO that he had established in Kenya years ago. And in fact, that's why he, in part, was selected to be part of this Rotary Peace Fellow educational experience. So he worked with others. He's working with the district governor in his district now that he is out of his holding pen and just back home, to raise money to have a water tank, to have water and sanitation stations, to buy sewing machines, to sew masks. The sewing machines, once the masks are not needed anymore, will be for youth vocational education. And all of this in part because there has been conflict and riots already around the fact that has not been water or soap. The entire time for over a month now that he was in the quote unquote quarantine, the holding pen, he had no water, no soap. And that's what his hometown that already had conflict is experiencing. So we're really proud of our longtime efforts with helping take stellar people to one of our 6 Rotary Peace Centers around the world. 5 of them are master's programs, and then the certificate program at Chulalongkorn University. It's an area that I could talk about forever, so I will move on. I'd like to tell you about the Cyprus Education project, and I believe in the next couple of weeks, we're going to hear even more from them. And then we've put a little bit of money towards what's called the Every Woman Treaty. A local peace fellow, Aaron Thomas, has helped bring to the attention of not only our Rotary Club and our district of 70 Rotary clubs, the work that the Every Woman Treaty is doing. And at some time, I hope you'll be able to hear more about that incredible worldwide effort. And we recognize that currently disaster relief is needed just about everywhere in the world. And so the committee chose just within this last month to take some of our remaining dollars and give support once again to Shelterbox USA. Shelterbox, you might say, well, where's that connection to peace too? But you know, when they provide light so that kids and women can walk to a latrine in the middle of the night and not be fearful of their lives, when you give a tent and some water and some basics to help people survive, there is less conflict. And Shelter Box has become a Rotary International Alliance partner. And so the committee is pretty proud to be able to do its part to help in a small way those who are affected not only by man-made disasters like conflict or inclement weather disasters or just displacement because their homes are in turmoil. So Shelter Box USA is receiving our funds. The final piece here is a community peace building project that we will be working on this coming August called Because People Matter. And I'll look forward to having you hear from Shelley at some point, our chair, to tell you more about what that project is and what our committee is doing, because we truly do want to resolve conflicts through nonviolence, mutual respect, understanding, and cooperation.
Thank you so much, Danielle, for jumping on in there and giving that update. I know that you and Drew have both been very involved in the committee for a long time, and the work that Peacebuilders are doing around the world, that Rotarians who are part of Peacebuilders around the world are, it's a never-ending, well, understandably a never-ending list, but also it is amazing what can be done as a Rotarian with all the volunteer hours that you all give and believe in to make a difference in our community as well as around the world, as you all just heard about the Peacebuilders. And thank you again, Dan and Drew, for giving that update on the Rotary Youth Center. I do have a really quick question. I know that we kind of, I mean, I think we're all admitting right now that this meeting is flowing a little bit differently than usual, but that's fine. That's totally fine. But I wanted to know, and I don't know who it would be, Dan or Drew, so jump in however you'd like. I do have a question about when all of COVID-19 started happening and we were all became down in lockdown, how did you go about kind of ensuring that this work could still be done to build this youth center?
So I'll jump in. And I just came to a different spot to give you a little bit of a different look at the building, where there'll be the two very large doors that will open out onto a patio. And then here is where the playscape and play area will be, that's been leveled so that we can have a wonderful grassy field and area for the youth. And I'd say it's been the combination of all the money that got raised prior that made an issue. I think the contractor we picked has just been awesome as far as being very safe, but very deliberate in how they've been able to stay on track with the confines of not having more than 10 workers on site and everyone having to do the physical distancing of 6 feet or greater, and always wearing a mask. And I really credit Dan and EMA staff for keeping the communication going on a regular basis, and some of my staff who've kept the communication going, so that everyone's just been working together safely while working together. So that's my take. And before I forget and have to sign off, our Peace Builder Committee meets on the 4th Tuesday of the month, usually at 11 a.m. And usually we've done that at the Sentinel. But if you have any kind of questions of how you might join in the interim, please send something to either Kate or Corinne, just to kind of know what the latest is, and then you'll get an email from Shelley. That's it for me.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that update. I was curious. not just about what Peacebuilders have been doing and what Homelessness Committee has been doing during this time when we've all been on lockdown, and I was not disappointed, and then gained to hear that the Rotary Youth Center also, things just keep moving forward. Can't stop Rotarians, I guess, from doing the work that, the service work that we are kind of drawn to do and that we are committed to doing, service above self. Thank you so much. Thank you, Drew. So lastly, to keep up with our new club branding that is now in sync with Rotary International's branding, we've created a new website, more things that we've been doing, and it is up, it is live, and please go and visit it and look around. You may see some things are moved around a bit, but for the most part, it is pretty intuitive. That would be the word I'm looking for. Pretty intuitive of where you go to find the information that you need and information that you want to share with others. Lastly, next week, we will be hearing from a panel from the Rotary Club of Salem on their 100 years of service. It is their 100th anniversary of their club this year. I want to thank each of our speakers today. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Daniil. Thank you, Drew. Thank you so much for being here. And I would also like to thank our club's membership whenever, wherever it is that you may be viewing this meeting. You might be watching with family. You might be sharing this video with your friends so they can learn more about Rotary, so they can understand what Rotary is. And you definitely heard a lot about what Rotary is, what this club is this month. And you can also kind of just by listening and watching all of that, you also learn more about our fellowship, as well as knowing about all of our service work that we do. Since the way our office has been reaching all of our membership most easily these days is by email, I do want to make sure that everyone keeps an eye out every Friday for their spokes email. And that always contains updates, more information about both the service and the fellowship that is going on within our club. If for some reason you aren't seeing that email come in, please just contact the office and they'll make sure that you are on that list. And lastly, very lastly this time, as always, take care of you, take care of yours. Let's continue our fellowship with each other. Let's continue to find service opportunities through our many club committees so that when we say that we are committed to service above self, it is more than just a motto. It is a Rotarian value to uphold. Thank you all for joining us today. This meeting is adjourned.